Hello and welcome to this episode of the Skift Meetings podcast. In this episode, executive editor of Skift Meetings, Andrea Doyle, interviews Kinsey Fabrizio, the new president of the Consumer Technology Association, which owns and produces CES. Fabrizio talks about her journey with the Consumer Technology Association, which started in 2008. And we go all the way to the present day, where CES 2024 just closed a few weeks ago with 138,000 attendees, 4,300 exhibitors from 161 countries. A successful show by all measures. Fabrizio started off working for the association management company Smith Buckland. She later joined the Consumer Electronics Association, the former name of the Consumer Technology Association. She went on to run the entire CES sales team and now has been named as CTA's new president. Fabrizio is an AI enthusiast. She's also a relationship builder, and she's part of Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. club. Fabrizio discusses CES's relationship with Las Vegas. The event is committed to Las Vegas to 2048, and she does not see the event ever leaving Vegas. Make sure you stick around for the whole conversation with much more detail on what makes the Consumer Electronics Show one of the largest shows on Earth. I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and don't forget to check out the other episodes of the Skift Meetings podcast. If you like what you hear, please consider rating the podcast and leaving us a review. Now for a word from our sponsors, PHL Life Sciences, a division of the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau. Host your convention or trade show in Philadelphia, one of America's leading life sciences hubs. PHL Life Sciences, the first and only CVB division of its kind, will connect you to the professionals at the forefront of your industry and to a culture you can only find in Philadelphia. A city known for its rich history that's forging a bright future, Philadelphia challenges the expected and defies convention. A world of discovery is waiting. Visit phllife.com to learn more.
Good morning. I'm Kinsey Fabrizio, president of the Consumer Technology Association, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, I am as well. Thank you so much for joining us, Kinsey. So can you tell us about your journey to your new role as president of CTA?
Yeah. So before I started working at CTA almost 16 years ago, I worked at an organization called Smith Buckland. So that's where I really got to know associations, trade associations, and the event space. And at Smith Buckland, I had a couple associations as clients, some trades, some professional societies, and they all had annual events. And so that's really where I started to understand the association and nonprofit world and the live event space as well. From there, I moved to the Consumer Technology Association. It was called CEA, Consumer Electronics Association back then. And I started working in our membership department. And I was responsible for several of our different divisions of membership, like our smart home division and our audio division and video division. And through that, really became thoughtful about new and emerging technologies that would impact the future of our organization and our show and the industry. And so I was really interested in digital health technologies. And this was over a decade ago. And I thought Fitbit was really amazing. And it was so cool how you could quantify your own health and wellness and, created a whole portfolio for CTA around digital health. And that kind of propelled my career growth. Gary, it always says that, when I had that idea and was able to really execute on it, he was like, oh, okay, this person has something. So, from there, I went on to run membership. We went through a whole kind of membership shift and dues revision. After that, I started running our CES sales team. So all of the revenue of the organization reported into me. And then from there, started overseeing the entire show. And that led me to where I am today.
Oh, that's great.
It's been the most fun. I feel like the luckiest person in the world.
Well, I guess the fact that you know the organization from so many different levels is going to be helpful.
It is helpful. It's very helpful to understand the core functions and core competencies of the organization. And so, coming up in membership, I really had the opportunity to understand why companies are a part of CTA and why they join our association. And I got to, see firsthand how our lobbying and advocacy really supports members in the industry and how our research development helps them with their business needs. And then our standard setting arm, we're an ANSI accredited standards organization that solves problems, that makes consumers' usage of technology better every day. Think of the different TV standards like HD and then 4K and 8K, or airplane mode on your phone, or even closed captioning. Those are all standards that CTA is behind.
Wow. Can you tell us a little bit about CTA? How many members and how many attend CES every year?
Yeah, so CTA, we represent the entire technology ecosystem. This is products that go direct to consumers. This is products that might not touch consumers directly, many B2P solutions and companies are members of ours. We have over 1,300 members. We're North American based, so you must have an office in North America to be a member. And that's a little different from CES. So CES is a global show. We have exhibitors and attendees from all over the world. So you don't have to be North American to be at CES. And that's one of the great things about the show is its global nature. At CES 2024, we had 138,000 attendees, which it was just phenomenal. We're actually about to publish our audit. We are unique because we are one of the only major trade shows that actually does an audit. And that means that we count each person one time. So you are one person, Andrea, if you attend CES, we don't count you every time you walk into the hall. We don't count you multiple times on different days. We just count you once. And so that number, it's audited by a third party. It's a very rigorous process and it's very clean. So it's a true number. And that's really important to our exhibitor customers to, understand the types of unique attendees that come through to see them.
And how many exhibitors did you have this January?
We had 4,300 exhibitors,
wow.
Which was amazing. And, they are across all categories of technology, from, traditional tech like audio and video to automobile tech and mobility tech. I mean, we had flying cars at CES, to health and wellness tech. And then, of course, AI was really underpinning everything that we saw at CES.
Okay. How do you feel AI will change the industry?
I love AI. I think it's great. I think for the live events industry, and honestly, AI will transform every industry, but specifically to the live events industry and the meetings and conferences industry, I think AI is going to give attendees a more personalized and unique experience. I think it's for a big show like CES, it's going to help attendees be more efficient and understand who is there and who they want to see. For show organizers, I think the business intelligence that AI will unlock is going to be very powerful.
Did you use AI in the show this January to help with exhibitors and attendees?
We used AI in a couple different ways. We created a CES brand campaign, and it was generated with a lot of AI. So the campaign was all in, and we had lots of wonderful people and faces featured in the campaign, and those were AI generated. So it's not real people, though they look very real. So that was a great use of AI this time around. We also used AI generated closed captioning in all of our conference sessions. That was good. There were some hiccups along the way as I was reading along. I'm like, oh, I don't think that's what that person said. So there's some work to do there, but we did use it a little bit. We plan to use it more as we continue to evolve. And I think one good way will be to enhance the attendee experience.
I mean, if you have any new technology, obviously CES is the place to unveil it. How did that become the case?
Well, I mean, it's a couple things. One, it's our global nature. And I think for the opportunity for companies in the tech industry and industries outside of the tech industry to all come together in one place from across over 161 countries were, at CES 2024. That's impactful. And I think that's very valuable for companies who seek to do business outside the US and companies outside the US who seek to do business in the US. So that's one thing that I think led to it. The other is we have over 5,000 members of the media at CES. So if you have news to make, there is no better place than CES to do it, just because of the massive media coverage and the group of with phenomenal media come to our show, and they talk about and they walk through the show and they write about what's happening and they cover it and they show the promise of the future. And that's what CES is. It's a look into the future. The other thing that's so great about it is we had over 1,400 startups at CES 2024. So to bring together, major big players in the tech industry, but also small startups as well that are showcasing their, really innovative new ideas, I think that's a really special thing.
What is it like to follow in the footsteps of Gary Shapiro?
Well, it's awesome because Gary's great. I feel so lucky that I've had the ability to work closely with Gary over the last 15, 16 years. He's mentored me. He's given me so much guidance. He is so supportive in terms of opportunities and advice and, his trust in me to lead teams and try new things. It's amazing. It's also, it's a little scary because he's so phenomenal and fantastic. You think, oh my gosh, how can I even compete with that? But he's tremendous and supportive, and I'm really lucky. I wish more people had the opportunity to have a supportive leader like him, because I really do recognize that I'm fortunate in that.
Well, you mentioned he was your mentor. How important is mentoring to you, and do you mentor others?
Yeah, it's so important. I think, when thinking about the future of the organization, mentoring is extremely, extremely important. One, it's how you help people grow, and it's how you help them unlock their own potential and find opportunities and really, figure out their path forward. It's having somebody who's done that or has experience, just be there to give advice and talk through, find solutions, find opportunities. I also think right now in a hybrid environment, it's really important because we're not all in the office every single day, and you don't get one-on-one time with as many people in the organization. And so having really, conscious conversations that focus on mentoring, it's good for, culture of the organization and the future leaders of any organization. I really believe in it.
How do you explain to friends and family what you do? Because there's some that do not understand the industry.
Well, most people don't understand trade associations. So I am fortunate. Normally what I do is I say, have you ever been watching the news in early January and you saw CES? Okay. And most everyone at that point is like, yes, I know what you're talking about. I say I work for the organization that owns and produces that show, and we focus on innovation and growing the tech industry. And then they're like, oh, that's so cool.
So, CES is one of the most iconic events. I was curious to find out if there's been any events you've attended and what made that event memorable.
Well, I can't pick just one because I love trade shows. I love going to events. I love going to conferences. But I will say there are two events that I have not attended that I really want to attend one day. They're not related to tech at all. They're outside of my day-to-day. One is the pizza show, because I just think it would be amazing. I love pizza, and everyone in Las Vegas loves the show. I actually think it's like going on right now, or it starts this week. And then the other one is JCK, the jewelry show. That takes place in Vegas too. I had the opportunity to meet the woman who runs that show, Saren, almost a year ago. And she's phenomenal. That show just looks so cool and impressive. And like, who wouldn't want to be at a jewelry expo?
And both those shows take place in Las Vegas. And obviously Las Vegas is home of CES. How important is the city to CES?
I love Las Vegas. I think it is so important. I love the partners that we work with in Vegas. The LVCVA is tremendous. The Venetian is tremendous. Freeman, TPN, all of our partners there, they're phenomenal. But the city of Las Vegas is so fun and magical and special. And I think it's brilliant how Las Vegas has transformed from, this party destination to really a business city.
Mhm.
And it's so great because you can come to Las Vegas. The weather is typically always going to be phenomenal. You can have some fun. There's beautiful hotels, there's wonderful restaurants, and then you can also engage in great networking outside of, the trade show floor hours, which I think is just special. And that convening and that bringing people together, I think is so important, even more so now that, we have moved through COVID. And Vegas creates all of those opportunities. You can get flights from all over the world into Vegas, and it's just a great city. And they've done so much, honestly, to transform how you get around the city. If you think of the underground tunnels and the additional transportation options, they're just really focusing on making it a city that's easy to get around and a fun place to do business.
Okay. So if you were to plan an event for 1,000 Kinseys, what would that event look like, and what would it include?
I love this question. This is the most fun question anybody has ever asked me. So, of course, there would be an emphasis on my favorite things, and
Pizza.
pizza. I also love sweet green. And everybody kind of jokes with me about my sweet green obsession. I love Peloton, and that integrates technology and fitness and health and wellness. I love Taylor Swift, so she would have to keynote, and I would want to do a fireside chat with her, as well as so many other rock star women CEOs like Corey Berry of Best Buy, who I just love. She's an amazing human. Lisa Su of AMD, Mary Barra of GM, and all these awesome rock star women I would want to have speak and be able to connect with them. But I would also really want to focus on how technology is impacting lives and truly solving some of the world's biggest problems. And I might even put a spin on that for women. As a mom, technology, a working mom, technology saves me. I mean, my Amazon Prime app is the only way I can make sure I have the supplies for my son's Valentine's Day party, plus order groceries, plus, make sure my daughter has, when she gets a hole in her sock for basketball, I can quickly order a new pair. So I think, moms today are fortunate to have all of these technology solutions in the gig economy to really help us be more effective.
Oh, that's great.
Are you ready to celebrate your successes in the world of meetings and events? The Skift Meetings Awards are back for 2024, recognizing the most innovative business events companies across 15 categories, and we want you to be a part of it. Winners will feature on Skift Meetings, sending a clear signal to events professionals around the world that these are partners they can rely on. The final deadline for submissions is June 11th. We encourage you to start your submission today to secure the best entry rates. For more information and to start your submission, head to live.skift.com.
What are the key qualities or skills that have enabled you to be successful?
I think one thing that is so important for every leader is to think about how you make people feel. And thinking about that in every interaction, because if people feel good about what they're doing and feel good about their contributions and know that you believe in them, then that's better for everyone. And so that's one thing that I always try to focus on is how do I make people feel? And that, flows into relationship building. And I think that is so important too, is establishing relationships from, all levels, people with big titles to new entrants and junior staff and junior junior people at your partners. I mean, really establishing relationships, I think, is so important. I think starting at a place of yes, starting with yes, and being open to new ideas and problem solving and trying things differently. I think that that's really important. I think having talented people around you, I often say that I typically do not know as much as the people on the teams that support me and work with me. They know more than I do. They're experts in their area, and leaning on them and not feeling like you have to have all the answers and you must always weigh in. Empowering really talented people around you, I think, is important. And of course, learning from mistakes. I've made mistakes. It's good to learn from them, and being flexible. And, being able to pivot, which, Gary has a book coming out about that. And I think it's going to be a great read.
How many are on your team?
How many are on my team? Well, there's 150 people at CTA. Okay. And many of those teams report into me. Every single one of those people touches CES in some way. But I think the amazing thing is that we are a 150 person organization that puts on the largest audited event in the entire world. And so it blows my mind every year. I'm so impressed.
Wow. And do you start planning right after your January event? You start planning for the next January?
Even before. We start even before, because we sell. So at CES 2024, our sales team is selling CES 25. Okay. So we've already done a lot of work to get 2025 floor plans in place and understand the venues we'll be in and craft, where different product categories will be in different locations at CES. So we start way in advance. We have to.
And how long is your contract with Las Vegas?
Well, we have dates for CES that go all the way through 2040. Vegas is, I don't foresee us leaving Vegas. Vegas is a great city to be in. It's a city that has the most space that can accommodate us. We are in, about 10 different hotels in total. We take the 3 largest convention centers in Las Vegas and use them for CES. So it's really it's an important city to us and a perfect location for CES.
So you take over the city in a way.
We're citywide. We take over the city. Yeah, we do. And they're amazing to work with.
What people or organizations have you learned from or partnered with that have been key in your career?
I have learned from so many people. I mentioned Gary earlier. Our COO, Glenda McMullen, has been a mentor of mine over the years, and I've learned a tremendous amount from her. She was CFO, COO, and she, really taught me how to look at things through a financial eye, and really helped me understand P&L and value, and what we look for in a business unit, which CES is. During the pandemic, I decided to do my MBA, and I had it was all virtual, which, I didn't know if I would like that or not, but it was amazing. And I had really, really phenomenal professors that I, will keep in contact with for the rest of my life, I hope. They were just fantastic. I've also learned things from other shows, other organizations, other leaders in the industry, and I am always curious and always want to learn. So I make that a priority, to ask questions and to learn and to get advice. But there's a lot of amazing leaders in the event space. Liz Irving at Clarion, I think, is phenomenal. She's the president there. Janet Dell, who's the president of Freeman. Karen Chupka, who's running the NAB show. She's just a phenomenal mentor and human. There's a lot of great people in this industry.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment to get your MBA during the pandemic. I mean,
that was crazy.
Well, congratulations. My accomplishment was I learned how to make kombucha. So,
well, you know what? That's on my list to learn too, because I love kombucha, and that's a great accomplishment. It really is.
It's not an MBA.
Well, I congratulate you on it nonetheless.
What future trends are you most excited about? We touched upon AI.
Yeah, I'm excited about AI. I am excited to see how the event space really becomes more personalized to each attendee. I'm excited about, some things I see at other shows, the unique experiences that they create for attendees. The health show, I think, does a great job of that. My friend Rich Scarfo runs that show, and they create some unique experiences for attendees that are all centered on health. And I I think that's really cool. And I think that's a direction we're headed in. I think we're also going to continue to see an emphasis on real high quality networking and convening in meaningful ways at events. And whether that's, the event organizer helping to create one-to-one connections in advance or helping to pair, to do matchmaking on a broader scale, I think that's an interesting trend too.
Okay. I mean, you got your MBA during the COVID pandemic. Are there any learnings that you would like to share from that time?
Yeah, well, we learned, the first thing that we learned that I think is important for the whole industry is that nothing can replace being in person. There is no world where an all virtual trade show works. It just doesn't, in my opinion. Being in person is so much better and it's so much more meaningful. That being said, what we did learn is how you can be in person and make your event cleaner, safer, and healthier. And so we've started doing that by having more touchless environments where people aren't putting their hands all over things. We have sanitizer everywhere. We also have made a big effort to keep the doors open in the Las Vegas Convention Center and the Venetian to let fresh air flow in so that, it's not just the stale convention center air. We're letting fresh air come in. And I think that helps in a major way. And just other things like, making masks available, having, tests available if people want them, sneeze guard, plexiglass in front of the food, like things that we didn't think about in the live events industry before. We're being more conscious about now. And I think it's helping, and I think it's creating a healthier environment.
And how important is sustainability?
It's important. We need to be thinking about it. Our customers are certainly thinking about it. I mean, it would be hard to find an exhibitor at CES that wasn't talking about sustainability in a meaningful way, whether it was from their production, their carbon neutral goals, their solutions that they create that support a sustainable environment. So it's important. As trade show organizers, we need to focus on it. And, we're doing what we can with the city of Las Vegas and the venues there, and they're all focused on, alternative power sources, saving water, saving energy. We work with them to make sure that we're doing that during CES. We also focus on recycling, and we do this in a couple ways. So we recycle the carpet from CES. We recycle booth building materials to organizations that support housing development for people in need. We also do electronics recycling on site at CES. So the last day of the show, we have a big event, bring all your wires, your cords, your electronic stuff that would otherwise get thrown away, bring it. And we have a system in place where we recycle it. And so we're, the trade events industry isn't perfect, but we're trying to make incremental progress to become more sustainable.
That's great. Are there any challenges that keep you up at night?
Well, yes. I mean, how long do you have? First, I'm a mom, so I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old, and literally sometimes they just keep me up at night by coming into our room. But, when you're a mom, your number one priority is your children. You think about them all the time. But, I also think about the future of CES. I think about the economy, and interest rates are still high. And, I don't ever want companies to cut their marketing budgets, and I want them to continue to show up to live events. So I think about that. I think about security and safety a lot. CES is a big event. And so, that's something that I'm always thinking about as we lead up to the show. How do we put on the safest show that we can? So those are just a few things. I think about our staff and are people feeling happy? Are they feeling good? And am I showing up as a good leader? All things that I think about all the time.
Is stress a challenge for you? And if so, how do you deal with it?
Well, I mean, I would be lying if I said I didn't have stress. I think we all have stress in some ways, but I feel like I have a lot of good tools in my toolkit to manage it. I am obsessed with Robin Sharma, who he has this thing called the 5 a.m. club. And it's, it's like guidance of, get up at 5 a.m. and you can spend some morning time focused in 3 different areas. 1, reflecting. 2, growth. and then 3 on some physical activity. And if you kind of do that, and I notice that when I prioritize that and I get up at 5 a.m. and I focus on myself before anybody else that day, that does help me manage stress. And it really helps keep things in perspective too, to kind of wake up and have your own time and set your plan for the day.
How long have you been doing that?
I don't know exactly, probably a couple years.
Wow.
It's gotten earlier and earlier. I can't go earlier than 5 a.m. 5 a.m. is as early as I can get up.
Wow. That's great. Are you finding it challenging to build and nurture your team? And how are you dealing with this?
We have a great team. I don't find the team challenging in any way. What I do find challenging sometimes is hybrid work. And when we're all in, we're all together and we're bonding, we're connecting. With remote work, people have to put in a little bit more effort to do that. And so I think sometimes that can be challenging because everyone is also busy and has a list of priorities that they want to get through. So then to take a real, conscious effort to invest in culture building and team building in a remote environment can be a little bit challenging. I think the way we're doing it is good. We have people into the office 2 to 3 days a week. And that allows for those in-person connections to be established so that the remote connections are easier.
And before the pandemic, were you 100% in office?
We were 100% in office. Every employee had one telework day. And so that would vary, from day to day based on the individual and the department. But yeah, we were an in-office organization. We own a building in Arlington, and that is where we come in when we come in on in-person days.
Have you changed your office space at all to reflect the hybrid?
That's such a good question. So we have done a few things. Every conference room has become a Zoom-enabled conference room. So every meeting, you could be in person, you could be on Zoom, you will be able to participate. So we've made that change. We've empowered employees with remote tools like, remote tool like the OneDrive, the remote tools for collaboration on documents, given everybody Zoom. We use Slack to communicate. And we do need to think about, how now that we are hybrid, does the actual physical floor plan that we have in our building make sense? And so that's something that's going to be, I think a priority for us to think through in the future.
Okay. Have you participated in any events lately that really impressed you?
Well, the last event I participated in was CES, and I thought it was very impressive. But no, like I said, I love events. I'll be speaking at the Trade Show Executive Fastest 50 coming up, so I'm excited about that. Here at CTA, we own a property on Capitol Hill. And we host events at that venue. And a lot of them are policy focused. A lot of them are just, industry topical focused. And we bring together all kinds of people. 2 nights ago, we had the Klitschko brothers, who are from Ukraine. They're, world-known fighters. One of them is the mayor of Kiev. So we had an event that was, in support of Ukraine at that house. And it was just a really great event. We had several members of Congress that came over, and Vladimir was talking to them about the need to support Ukraine and really what it's life or death for the Ukrainian people and what that means. And it was just a really powerful event. So that's one that will stick with me and have an impact for a while.
And that was sponsored by your organization. Who were the attendees?
The attendees were members of Congress. So we had several members of Congress come and hear from them. We also had government organizations. We had, Ukraine supportive organizations. We had some industry folks. And then, of course, Gary and I were there, and some folks from our public policy team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
It was really cool. It was a special event.
How do you see events changing in the next 5 years?
I think we'll see like I said earlier, AI, I do think will change events. I think they'll get more personalized. I think they'll be more experiential. And that's something that the future attendee and a future event goer is looking for. I think, content will appear differently. It may not be the typical 45 to 60-minute panel session. We might see events where the content comes from the audience, or the speaker is a part of the audience, or they just flow differently. There might be more crowdsourced content. So I think that those are different ways to think about it. I also think, exhibitors will start to create more experiential opportunities for attendees at their shows. We saw a little bit of that at CES 2024, and it was very popular. And I think that's something that we'll continue to see in the future.
Wow. If you could change one thing in the events industry, what would it be?
If I could change one thing in the events industry, what would it be? Well, I love the events industry. I don't think anything needs to change. Oh, you know what? I would make every show audit their attendance because I think that's really important. I think it's really important to have a true, accurate number of who's at your show.
And I guess it helps exhibitors as well, right?
Very helpful. Yep.
Because there's a trend in the importance of data in the events.
Absolutely. Data is so important. Absolutely.
And we always end our podcasts by asking who should be our next guest. And what would be one question I should make sure I ask that person?
Okay, I'm going to give you a few. Don't hate me.
No, that's great.
I mentioned them earlier, and maybe they've been guests, so forgive me if you've already talked to them. But Janet Dell, who's the new president and COO of Freeman, Saren Bachman, she's JCK. I mean, there's so many questions you could ask her. Like, what's your favorite jewelry? What's your favorite gemstone? Liz Irving, who's president of Clarion, they're doing amazing things with employee engagement and employee satisfaction and culture building. I think she's a good one to talk to. Jess Blue, who's now running Money 2020. She's just brilliant and has a lot of experience with different types of shows that bring different types of attendees, and is very focused on experience. And then, of course, Karen Chupka, who's running NAB. She's amazing and just has so much experience. She was the brains behind so much of what has made CES successful, like our keynote strategy. And, she would be really great to talk to. And it'd be interesting to hear her perspective about what NAB is focusing on.
No, that's great. And just, you brought up Clarion and the way they engage employees. Is that an issue that you're having, like the workforce shortage? Is that impacting you at all?
Well, it's not. I think we've built up our workforce and we have an amazing talent pool. It does seem to take a little bit harder to fill open roles when they become open. Before it seems like we would always be flooded with resumes. It's a little harder to fill open roles. But I do think that that's even started to improve. But I think, like I said, I think team building, I think creating employee resources and education for them to do their jobs better, boosting morale and culture. Those are all things that are really important to me. And Liz is focused in that area too.
Well, these were great suggestions. I'll reach out to all of them.
Awesome.
Well, this has been great. I really appreciate your time, and it was so great to meet you. And I wish you all the best in your new role.